So when you think about technology in the senior living industry, what comes to mind? Probably better software, right? But what if I told you that's not the real problem at all?
Yeah, that's a pretty bold claim, right? It's meant to make you pause for a second because it completely flips the script on what we think the issue is. So if it's not a software problem, then what on earth is it?
Well, it turns out it has a fragmentation problem. Think about it. The issue isn't a lack of tools. There are tons of them. The real problem, the dangerous problem, is that none of these tools talk to each other. We're talking about deep, disconnected gaps that affect everything, from how you schedule staff all the way to the quality of resident care.
Okay, so let's dig into that. What does this fragmentation problem actually look like in the real world? And, why should we care?
All right, just look at these core functions: care, staffing, compliance, financials, you name it. These are the pillars of any senior living operation. But here's the thing. Almost all of them run on their own separate siloed software. They don't communicate. So your care team has no idea what the staffing data says, which leads to burnout. And the folks making massive capital decisions, they're flying blind with no real-time view into what's actually happening. And look, this goes way beyond just being inefficient or having clunky workflows. The real danger here is that people are making huge, high-stakes decisions without the full picture. Just imagine an investor putting millions of dollars into a facility based on last quarter's numbers, but they have no clue that a massive staffing crisis is happening at this very moment. That one blind spot puts the entire investment and, more importantly, the quality of care at risk.
So the industry is really at a crossroads. On one side, you have the easy path. Just keep buying more software. But all that does is make the silos deeper and the problem worse. On the other side, there's a different approach: alignment. Creating one single source of truth that actually unifies all the data and connects all the teams.
So, what's the real cost of all this fragmentation? Well, you can boil it all down to one single, very expensive word: surprises.
I mean, just try to put yourself in an operator's shoes for a minute. Your entire day is spent bouncing between 5, 10, maybe even 12 different systems that don't speak the same language. You're basically trying to solve a puzzle all day long, but the pieces were never even made to fit together.
It's got to be exhausting.
And at the same time, you've got investors making these huge, multi-million-dollar bets based on old, static reports. Sure, the numbers looked good last month, or maybe last quarter, but that's not what's happening now. They're making decisions in the dark, and they only see the full picture after the money's already out the door.
And it's the exact same story for lenders, right? They're trying to figure out the risk, but all they have is a snapshot, a single photo from one moment in time. They have zero real-time visibility into how the facility is actually doing, so their risk assessment is, by definition, incomplete.
So it all comes back to surprises. A surprise when you find out about a huge operational problem after the deal is closed. A surprise when the quarterly report comes in and you realize staffing costs are through the roof. And here's the thing. In this industry, the margin for error is getting smaller and smaller. These kinds of surprises just aren't financially acceptable anymore. Okay, so if fragmentation is the disease, what's the cure? Well, the answer isn't just another app or another piece of software. It's something way more fundamental. It's a true operating system designed for the entire industry. And this is the central idea right here. Instead of trying to duct tape a dozen different systems together, you build one system from the ground up where everyone, I'm talking operators, investors, lenders, everyone is looking at the exact same live data. That data model they talk about, it's basically a shared language. For the first time, all the different parts of the business can talk to each other in real time. It creates a single source of truth. And you can see how they built it, layer by layer. It starts with the most important thing, the foundation, which is the operator's daily workflow. From there, they add layers for transactions, and then a layer of visibility for capital and underwriting. And the thing that holds it all together, the glue, is this intelligence layer that's fed by live operational data. It's designed to make sure everyone is on the same page, all the time.
All right, so that's the big idea, the 30,000-foot view. But what does a system like this actually look like in practice? Let's go ahead and take a look inside. Wow. Yeah, the first thing that jumps out is just the sheer scale of it all. You've got these two huge, totally integrated modules, one for operators and one for investors. But the important part isn't just the crazy number of features, it's the fact that they're all built on that same data model. They're all speaking that same language. Okay, so with more than 1,400 features, we'd be here all day if we tried to cover everything. So instead, let's zoom in on just one really cool example from the investor module, their 8-category risk scoring engine. And this is where that single source of truth really starts to shine. So a risk scoring engine, what is it? It's basically a tool that grades how healthy an investment is. But here's the game changer. Instead of only looking at financial reports, this engine pulls in live data from all these other categories you see here. It's looking at financial risk, sure, but it's also looking at operational risk, the physical risk of the building itself. It takes all of that, quantifies it, and boils it down to a single score. For the first time, investors get a complete 360-degree view of an asset.
So what does all this integration actually add up to? The result is pretty mind-blowing. We're talking about a potential $7.06 million in annual value for just a typical 120-bed facility. And that's not just about being a little more efficient. That's real money from capturing more revenue, from major cost savings, and from avoiding all those costly surprises we've been talking about.
And this really brings us to the biggest idea of all. Because the goal here isn't just to sell another piece of software. The real ambition is to build the actual infrastructure that the entire industry will run on in the future.
I think this quote from the founder says it all, really. They're not just building features to add to the pile. They're building the fundamental system that they believe will become absolutely essential for anyone who operates or invests in senior living.
And that's how they measure success. It's not about sales numbers or market share. For them, real success is when the entire market shifts, when investors and lenders start to demand this kind of real-time operational visibility before they'll even consider a deal. That's the tipping point, where the old, fragmented way of doing things just isn't good enough anymore. So that leaves us with a really big question to think about. In an industry that's facing so much pressure and so much growth, what really happens when having this kind of real-time operational truth isn't just a nice to have, but it's the absolute standard that everyone expects?